Greetings to one and all. This is Dr. Pooja Sharma, Assistant Professor, Department of Management at the Bhopal School of Social Sciences. We will be focusing on contingency theories of leadership in today's module. I have already discussed leadership, the concept, styles of leadership, trait theory and Greatman theory in my previous module. Let us take a quick glance at the learning objectives of today's module. Learning objectives: contingency theory, definition, contingency models, Fiedler's contingency model, Hersey and Blanchard's situational theory, leader-member exchange theory, leader participation model and path goal theory. We will be doing 3 of these theories in detail. First, let us understand the concept of contingency approaches to leadership. A contingency theory is an organizational theory that claims that there is no best way to organize a corporation, to lead a company, or to make decisions. Instead, the optimal course of action is contingent, that is, dependent upon the internal and external situation. A contingent leader effectively applies his own style of leadership to the right situation. Contingency approach is a management theory that helps the manager to adopt the best management style which is dependent on the context of the situation. It helps to understand that management activity such as planning, controlling, leadership or organization are completely dependent on the circumstances. Contingency theory suggests that a leader should carefully analyze the nature of the situation before deciding on the appropriate style of leadership to be adopted. The first theory we'll be understanding is Fiedler's contingency model. The Fiedler's contingency model was created in the mid-1960s by Fred Fiedler, a scientist who studied the personality and characteristics of leaders. The model states that there is no one best style of leadership. Instead, a leader's effectiveness is based on the situation. This is the result of 2 factors: leadership style 1 and situational favorableness, which was later called as situational control. First, leadership style. Identifying the leadership style is the first step in using the model. Fiedler believed that leadership style is fixed and it can be measured using a scale he developed which is called as Least Preferred Co-worker Scale or LPC scale. The LPC scale asks a leader to think of all the people with whom they have ever worked and then describe the person whom they have worked least using a series of bipolar scales of 10 to 8 such as the following. A high LPC score suggests that the leader has a human relations approach, while a low LPC score indicates a task orientation. Fiedler assumes that everybody's LPC in fact is on average about equally unpleasant. But people who are indeed relationship motivated tend to describe their least preferred co-workers in a more positive manner, for example, more pleasant, more efficient. Therefore, they receive high LPC scores. People who are task motivated, on the other hand, tend to rate their least preferred co-workers in a more negative manner. Therefore, they receive low LPC scores. So, the LPC scale is actually not about the least preferred co-worker at all. Instead, it is about the person who takes the test. It is about that person's motivation type. The second factor is situational control. This further depends on 3 distinct sub-factors. A. Leader-member relations. This is the level of trust and confidence that your team has in you. A leader who is more trusted and has more influence within the group is in a more favorable situation than a leader who is not trusted. Number 2. Second sub-factor is task structure. This refers to the type of task you are doing, clear and structured or vague and unstructured. Unstructured tasks where the team and the leader have little knowledge of how to achieve them are viewed unfavorably. Third sub-factor is leader's position power. This is the amount of power you have to direct that particular group and provide reward or punishment. The more power you have, the more favorable your situation. Fiedler identifies power as being either strong or weak. To understand in a better way, we take an example of Pizza Hut restaurant manager. In this example, we are going to imagine that you have been newly appointed the manager of a Pizza Hut restaurant. In this scenario, we might expect the following situational factors. Number 1. Trust will be low because you are new to the job, so your team won't trust you. Secondly, the staff turnover is high, so it's going to be difficult to build strong relationships. Number 2, task structure is high. This is because there are extremely clear operating procedures to follow, covering everything from how to make each pizza or how to welcome customers to the restaurant. Number 3, position power is high. You have the ability to hire and fire, reward and punish as is required. According to Fiedler's contingency theory of leadership and using our table above, a relationship-oriented leader is best suited to this type of role. So, this is how the theory is applied in the corporate world. Hope you've got the gist of it. We proceed to the second important theory, Hersey and Blanchard's situational theory. Paul Hersey and Ken Blanchard, 1969. According to this theory, the maturity level of the subordinate plays a major role in influencing the leadership style of the superior. Very interesting. Leadership styles can be categorized into 4 types: telling, selling, participating and delegating. The leadership style selected by an effective manager depends on the development level of the employee. For example, number 1, if an employee is low in his ability to perform, low in his willingness to perform, manager needs to adopt telling style. Number 2, if an employee is low in ability but high in willingness to perform, then the manager has to use selling style by giving required support and directions to perform the task. Number 3, if an employee is capable of performing but not willing to perform the task, the manager has to apply participating style, that is less direction and more responsibility. Number 4, if an employee is capable and also willing to carry out the task, then the manager can simply delegate the work. Thus, the model emphasizes on the individual's capabilities and willingness to undertake a task. Let us take a quick recap. We first started with the concept of contingency theory of leadership. Then we did the various types. We then studied in detail the Fiedler's contingency theory. Thirdly, we understood the Hersey-Blanchard's situational theory. We now move on to the next important theory, path goal theory of leadership. This theory was developed by Robert House in 1971 and has its roots in the expectancy theory of motivation. The leaders help group members in attaining rewards by clarifying the paths to the goals and remove the obstacles to performance. They do so by providing the information, by providing support, other resources which are required by the employees to complete the task. We all have been inspired by Steve Jobs, the chairman, the CEO, co-founder of Apple. Steve Jobs' leadership style was compared within the path goal theory to be rather supportive and participative because he involved his employees. He did not simply direct them to do a task and then left them to do it. According to Howe's path goal theory, a leader's effectiveness depends on several employees and environmental contingent factors and certain leadership styles. All these are explained in the figure. Robert Howe suggested 4 types of leadership with the help of path goal theory. Number 1, directive leadership. The leader clearly tells his subordinates what is expected of them, gives them work schedules, instructs them on how to do the task. Number 2, supportive leadership. The leader attempts to address the needs, the problems of his subordinates. Number 3 is the participative leadership. The leader discusses problems with the subordinates, seeks their suggestions before giving or before making a decision. Number 4, achievement-oriented leadership. The leader tries to develop his subordinates by giving them challenging tasks and encouraging them to perform to the best. The path goal theory suggests that the leader's behavior depends on 2 contingency variables: environmental factors. Task structure and work group are the 2 environmental factors. When the structure is high, directive leadership is less effective than when the structure is low. The nature of the work group also affects leadership behavior. Number 2, subordinates' characteristics. Important personal characteristics include the subordinates' perception of their abilities and their locus of control. If people think that they lack ability, directive leadership is the preferable method to lead them. If a person has the locus of control, then the participative leadership is preferable. Managers may not be able to change the personal characteristics or the personnel, but can shape their approach of leading and managing by understanding them. That is all about the path goal theory in brief. I have suggested some readings in this context which will be helpful for better insights. Stay connected with me in my upcoming module on contemporary leadership theories. Till then, keep reading, keep smiling. Goodbye. Thank you.